Welcome to another episode of Crosstalk. My name is Kevin Tocci, and I will be your host for the next 30 minutes. And as you have come to expect from this particular program, we've been doing for some time now. Well, we do our best to try to mix it up, whether we're talking about local issues or maybe something fun that's coming up. Maybe it's an election. Maybe it's something to do with town meeting. Maybe it's a new place down the street. Maybe it's a fundraising event. Well, we've got a guy who's been here a couple of times before. You're going to recognize him. His name is Mr. Richard Hand, and he is a numismatist.
Correct.
I think I said that
correctly.
correctly.
You're getting good at that one, yeah.
Yeah, it's taken a couple of years.
Twister.
You've been here a few times. But what is a numismatist? It's somebody who
studies coins and related items for money and the history of it, basically.
And you thrive. You are our expert when it comes to this.
I'm pretty good at it, yes. You know, it's always a learning curve, learning more and from the bigger guys. And it's like I never liked history, but I've enjoyed history by learning through money.
What originally got you started? I know we probably ask you this question every time, but we can't assume that everybody has seen you every time that you've been on here talking about National Coin Week, which is actually coming up. I think it's the 92nd annual coming up.
Correct.
In April. Talk to us. What got you to start collecting coins or start looking at coins and learning about them?
Well, my story is like most. I never had a paper route, but some people with a paper route. But as a young child, grandparents, parents, getting you the folders and sitting down at the table and going through piles of coins that you would save in your piggy bank and filling in the slots and looking for certain dates. Sure. It was kind of like a puzzle, trying to piece the puzzle together. And then as you get a little bit older, it's kind of the same story. Everybody kind of puts that to a side, goes into sports or finds girls or guys or whatever, you know. And then I went into the Marine Corps, and I came back out after traveling a little bit in the Marine Corps and picking up some foreign country coins and currency from Egypt or Syria or something like that. I got back into it when I got home.
Is it a matter of just, the different types of currency and what they do for, what they look like? Is it, what got you started? Was it just strictly American coins? Because it's funny you mentioned banks. Because if I'm correct, I think when I was a kid, I think like Brockton Savings Bank, and I'm throwing out a name that probably people haven't heard in eons. And if they're under the age of 2025, that it may not have existed. But where they had like this little where you could put the coins in, like you were mentioning, and you put them in, and you get so many, you fill it up, and you'd bring it in, and that would be
into your savings account or something like that.
Right.
And back then they were probably silver in the coins.
That's correct.
So it's basically on the same idea, and I guess I kind of liked it at first as a young kid because it was a way of saving money, and being taught that money was very important, to be able to pay rent and buy stuff that you like. And then, like I say, the history came afterwards. At first, it was just kind of getting into it, and then you get the books. But a lot of banks offered those different things. Those are actually very collectible if you still had that little card with the coins, even without the coins in it, those little cards that the slots with the coins from the different banks offered have value to them. Anything related to the money has some value to it.
Well, I believe that because of myself. I have watched. I'm a big fan of reality shows or shows that are put together. I like Pawn Stars, and one of the things you notice, you'd be amazed at the stuff that has value, whether it was from 300 years ago or if it was a limited edition that was manufactured or made. I've seen stuff where there was like toys that, you might have had the head of a toy but not had the rest of it, but because there was a limited amount made, there was still value, even in just a piece, the head to a toy.
Exactly. That goes even with paper currency. There's some paper currency that have been torn and beat up, and there's only one or two of those even known, and so that beat up piece of torn up piece of paper has a lot of value to it because, there's a limited amount of them, and it's in rough shape, but it has a lot of value to it. And that could be the same thing with a coin. It could be scarce and in rough shape and holds a lot of value to it. So, there's just so much, National Coin Week People can learn a lot, ask a lot of questions. If you have something you want, like the porn stars, you could bring it to their shop and they'll answer your questions. We can help you do that. You know, just don't bring your whole collection in, because we got a lot of people that show up.
I actually think that maybe you and I might know an individual who showed up on Pawn Stars. Do you not know Hank Tartaglia?
Oh, he's been on there?
Hank Tartaglia,
Wow.
who's known from the Tartaglia family, who are connected to Rocky Marciano. They own
George's Cafe.
George's Cafe.
Excellent
Everybody knows
food.
Charlie. Charlie being a guy who runs the restaurant, also a guy who's into boxing and is part of the commission.
So why was Hank there?
Hank was there with some Rocky Marciano memorabilia. This
Really?
is in 2004, last March. Yep, it's funny.
Okay.
It's funny you mention that. But let's kind of stick with the coin theme here. And I believe like every year, don't you try to have like a different theme? Is there like a theme this year that you're
Yes,
you're
you know,
looking
so
at
this
celebrating?
National Coin Week is through the American Numismatic Association, which was federally chartered through Congress. It's a nonprofit organization on the education of money and related items. And they do a contest every year between the members, and if they pick your theme, you win some prizes, you know, gold coin or something like that.
Very cool.
And this has been going on since 1912. And this year's American is Building Tomorrow's 215. It's actually the 100th anniversary of the San Francisco World Fair. And so we're building off of that theme there on World Fairs. I'm having a guest speaker, George Bigelow Jr. He's going to do the introduction on that World's Fair and many other World's Fair. Actually, the first one, I believe, was 1892, the World's Fair. You don't see that stuff anymore. And it would last almost a year long. People from all over the world would come to these World Fairs. I think if you've seen Iron Man Part 2, that big globe in it, that was part of one of the World's Fairs. So George will be touching on that. And my other guest speaker, he's going to talk on error coins, and I'll do a little introduction. And hoping to get, this year I usually have 2 guest speakers. I'm doing 1 this year. I want more hands-on time with the kids, 2x2 and coins, giving them some foreign coins to teach them how to identify the coins. We give them some currency from around the world. One of my friends, Sama, comes by with some world currency, and I get some world currency that I give to the kids, because everybody gets a little gift package.
Yeah, teach them while they're young.
Yes, teach them while they're young, and probably be like usually the same story. Start young, put it down. It's put in the cabinet or in the closet, and at some age you pull it out and it sparks your interest again, and you keep going. And that's part of our job, which I like doing, is keeping the hobby alive. In order to keep any value to anything, you got to keep it alive. If we die out, like stamp collectors have kind of died out, most stamps have no value to them except for the really rare ones. Right. And so the same thing with coin collecting. We really try real hard to do this, and this is, like I say, it's throughout the whole country. Not every town or city does it. Somebody like myself picked it up. This will be my 8th year doing it. Started at the West Branch Library on my own. Yep. Started off with 25 kids, and at times I've had almost 100 people come, young and old, 7 and up.
And let's quickly clarify here, because when you started mentioning about your event, what I like to do is try to set it up. This is something that you're doing in Brockton. You usually do it on an annual basis in Brockton, and I believe you're going to be doing it at the main branch?
Yes, the main branch,
located
304 Main Street, Brockton, Massachusetts, kind of right next to the YMCA. I would come in the side entrance.
White Avenue?
Is that White Avenue?
I think
Thank
it's
you
White
very
Avenue, yep.
much. And go in through the side entrance, and as soon as you go through those double doors, you're going to see a wall. Imagine the room behind that wall. Figure a way to get around it. There's 2 ways to get it, left and right, and then the doors.
Okay.
Okay, so you're not getting
And
confused.
this will take place when? What date and time?
April 18th at 1 p.m.
Okay.
Arrive early, especially if you got young children you're going to bring with you, so we can kind of get them more involved with it before we start the introduction to get them started. I'd like to be able to send the kids home with a lot of extra coins that they've 2x2s. I plan on probably having some old wheat cents and some world coins for them.
My
to
favorite. I
2x2.
used to love the wheat cents.
Right.
You know, let's talk a little bit. You are somebody, when you come in our studio, you don't come empty-handed. You usually come with props and things to show and tell and talk about. Where do you want to start?
Well, you know, I just wanted, like, last year's theme was the 50th anniversary of the Kennedy half dollar, and we made sure that everybody got one of these, either the Philadelphia or Denver. If you came with a large family, you most likely got one of each. It's like I say, it's the 50th anniversary of the Kennedy half dollar, and last year they actually made special versions. They made one in solid gold, but with the dual date, 1964 to 2014. And then this one is clad, there's no silver in it, but they also made a 4-coin set out of silver. And then an uncirculated set with the original design from 1964. Okay. As the time goes by with the dies, to save cost, they reduce the detail, lower the relief on the coin to save money, so the design has changed through the years. Now this year, I'll be giving out everybody the 215 Kennedy half dollar that people that come in. The 215, everybody's going to get a P&D that stays for the end of the show. That's what, you know, we've learned that people used to just come in, sit down, grab the stuff, and leave. So I make them stay for the whole event, and it's worth their while. 215 on this coin here, this is for circulation, but they don't make them for banks. Collectors, low mintage, usually under 2 million are made a year from each mint. Went back to the original detail and design and relief on the 1915, uncirculated coin, which they would call a business strike. Which, you know, if you find a date like this from 2002 to now in the bank, and you're asking for half dollars, which is called roll searching. It's a collectible coin. It wasn't meant really for circulation. It has value to it. So that's the only way of getting these coins from 2002 to present is ordering through the mint. But some people, if your coin collection got stolen, could probably spend it. And some of these coins you can find up. So that's a big thing. Myself, I do that. I'll go buy a box of cents and go through it. Look for double dies, repunch marks, or wheat cents. Sometimes you find an Indian cent.
How often do you find? Because one of the things, I'm going to go back to the Pawn Stars reference that I made earlier, and I've seen many times when there's a coin, and Rick, who is the owner of the pawn shop, is looking at it, and it's amazing to realize that people, even with a coin, people will do things to try to bump up the value and do counterfeit stuff to it, whether it's where it's minted and little certain things, and they're able to tell that whether it's if it's a true, a coin of its era, or if it's a fake.
All right, so there's a couple of examples. The Lincoln cent, 1914 wheat cent from the Denver Mint, is a perfect example of being counterfeited because it has value. If the coin has value to it, counterfeiters will do it. They'll actually take a 1944 Lincoln cent from the Denver and shave off part of the four to look like a 1, but you could tell by the space if you take a look. There's also ways of people cutting off a mint mark and putting it on another coin.
Right.
And so you have to know the positioning, especially like the 1916 Mercury dime, key date. There's, I think, 4 different positions. There was 4 dies that were made, and the D is in different positions because at that time the dies were made, but the mint mark was put on later. So people have shaved off the D off of another Mercury dime and put it on a regular 16 from Philadelphia. Stuff like that goes on all the time, and that's why it's always good to probably even buy the book. This is one of a great book to have. We gave out one to everybody last year. The Whitman Publishing Company donated 2 cases of these red books. I believe it was the 214 series. This is the 213 series here.
And what is inside? What is between the covers of that book?
Pretty much from the post-history of coins, colonial eras up to the half cent. Patent coins that were, they practiced and see if they liked the design, gold coins, how many were made, the different price levels for the grades, and which I have a little poster here on grades, which can add value to the coin, the scarcity of the coin, condition of the coin. It's very handy. There's other books and videos to learn on counterfeiting. So before you go buying really expensive, what we call a key date or key date coin, you need to know what to look for before you buy it raw. Or you'd find a company like this company here, Annex, who supplies these slabs for me free to do at the event. You find a reputable grading company. If you buy it in the slab, you know you're getting the real thing. If you buy it in the 2x2, which I've showed here, at a coin store or online or something on eBay, it could be counterfeit if it's one of those expensive coins. So usually, if you don't know what you're doing about, you pick up a certified coin.
And that's what makes me nervous, is because I have seen when you go to, if you go to a flea market or you go to certain events, and you know, maybe you go to a Comic-Con, a convention or something like that, and you know, where people that can sell their wares, whether it's T-shirts, whether it's there's somebody who is a numismatist or something like that. You don't know because you're in an open market. And you may never, you buy something from this individual and you spend good money, you may never see the individual again.
Exactly, or he won't back it up. So another great tool is what you see around my neck here, is a loop. If you want, you know, it's like a looking glass that a jeweler will use. They come in several.
That's what Rick uses all the time.
Several powers. When grading coins, they usually use a 7 power. But to look at them, if you were going to a flea market, probably good to have one of these to check out the quality of the coin.
Where would you buy one?
Many of the coin magazines, coin shops, West Side Stamp and Coin, and Walpole donate some of these things to me.
Okay.
So this is a great tool. You can get them for about $10. You can get ones with lights on them. You can get ones that have different powers. You can one loop that has several different powers. Higher the power, you'll be looking for repunch, mint marks, or doubling, or a variety on a coin. But this is a great tool when you're going to like a flea market to examine the coin, make sure it hasn't been scrubbed with a wire brush, which is called whizzing. You can take a dirty coin, whiz it up, and it'll look like the day it was made. But you could see those fine lines with this. By the naked eye, you wouldn't really see it.
Right. With that, you'd be able to see the brush marks.
Or, you know, if somebody altered a 44 Denver cent, you could probably see how they tooled off part of the 4 to make a 14 out of the 1, you know, 1. So this is a great little tool to have.
Talk to me about the chart that is next to you. What do you have? What is the significance of this? And is this some of the stuff that you will have on display to show folks?
Yes, I usually bring in several of these charts, the Morgan silver dollar, the Buffalo nickel. This is kind of breaking down the grading. Some people say, what is my coin worth? I have a 1909 cent. Well, is it from San Francisco? Does it have the initials VDB on it? So what has a lot to do with the factor of a price of a coin? The first one up here would be the grade of good. It even comes lower in a grade like that. If you had a coin a certain date in good and a coin in any of these other grades, sometimes the price difference between one grade could be thousands of dollars or a few dollars, depending on if it's a key date coin or a common coin. Depending on your budget level, you would collect the coin that you can mostly afford. When you get into like the fine, you got good, very good, fine, very fine. If you don't have a lot of money, like fine, you can still see most of the detail on the coin. This kind of represents the wear and tear on the coin, how much detail has been removed. When you get to the mint state type coins, basically the day it was made, no wear, no tear, no fingerprints. And it's very important. And this photo over here kind of shows you the high spots of the coin. When a brand new coin, the red will be where the first part of the coin will start wearing off first. That's the highest points. Then the orange, then the yellow, and you get to see a little bit of green. That's kind of the last places that'll be worn. The red, like bottom here, it's showing you the high points. And so if somebody's trying to sell you a coin, they're saying it's a high grade, take that loop, that little looking glass, and look at the high points and see if there's any rubs or scrapes on it. And if there is, it's no longer considered a mint state or uncirculated coin. It would be about uncirculated or extra fine. So that's why I kind of brought this in here to help explain how values are determined by the grades and the rarity of the coin. You could have a very rare coin that there's no high grades because nobody saved them. It wasn't a popular thing to do. And a low grade could be worth lots of money.
Now you actually have a little bit of a couple of examples. Now, what are these that you're showing?
Okay, this is the year in 1792. The government had actually built the old mint in Philadelphia, and were determining on making a coin. And if you notice the head side over here, you'll see the flowing hair Liberty. This was never really issued. It was what is called a pattern coin. The story, myths about this was the silver. This is silver. It was called a dimus, which was a 10-cent piece, but back then they called it a dimus. The silver was supposedly came from George Washington. He donated or gave some silver plates. You ate your food off of. So there's John Harper could melt these down. He used to make saws, and he designed these coins. Right now, there's 3 known silver. And you can pay up to $2 million if you had the chance when one of these came up to auction on it. They also tried making them in copper. There's like 15 of these known in copper, and you can spend up to over $500,000 for just a copper pattern version of this 1792 dimus.
Will it retain its, let's say you spent $500,000, $2 million. Does it retain its value, or is there? You mentioned about stamps. Now stamps,
yes,
stamps have dropped off in their values. Is there a chance that coins could, you could pay $500 for a coin 1 year, and does it increase in value, or is it an ebb and flow?
Okay, that's a very good question. As a coin collector, the best way to do it is to always buy the key date coins, semi-key date coins first. Why, you say? Well, key date coins always hold their value and go up in value. And same thing with supply and demand. If you put it up in an auction and there's not much demand for it, you might lose a little or gain some, but very seldom you lose any money on it. Common coins, not a key date. Key dates are usually low mintage coins for how many were made. Will always be common and slowly go up in price. I brought here another coin. This was actually the first coin that was ever struck at the U.S. Mint in Philadelphia. 1793 was a half cent. We don't call them pennies. That's in England. Pennies in England, they also had a half a penny and even went down further. But this is a half cent from 1793. You can notice from that dimus, they used the same design, the flowing hair Liberty.
But the backside's different.
Is a little bit different. They have the wreath on the back. The same design here was used on the large cent, but the reverse had chains on it, 13 change. The public didn't like that. They thought of bondage from Great Britain and not so much uniting the people, the 13 change. So the 1793 half cent and large cent, the first was the chain on the large cent, but then they went to this wreath here. But this was actually the first coins that were struck. There was 35,334 of these half cents struck in 1793.
I got to ask. What the heck would you buy with a half cent?
Back in 1793, quite a bit.
Really? You think so?
Yes.
Oh, all right.
And actually, you could pay anywhere on a low grade to almost $1,750, somewhere near there, up to $38,000 for one of these coins, and maybe even a little bit more, depending on demand.
Richard, the problem is you have so much information, we don't have enough time. We got about 5 minutes left, my friend. I've been holding this because it's got information on it, but if you would, share with folks what exactly you had, when you brought the stuff in, you kind of told me that this is something that once had value.
Yes, this is an $8 obsolete banknote. during the 1800s to 1863, our government only made coins. So they allowed states to charter banks, and if I had $10,000, I can open up my bank and design my own banknote. If I wanted dogs, ships, boats, whatever I wanted. If I wanted to put my wife on the design, I could. This is an $8 obsolete banknote from Connecticut. And as you can see the designs on there. There's no signatures on this because this was called a remainder. It was never issued, but some were. And every state did their own. There was 4,000 banks that issued these notes, so there was probably 4,000 different titles. And many designs were used, and it went from fractional for 5 cents, 12.5 cents, $5, $6, $7, $8, $9, $12.5. $5,000 would go from bank to bank. So I give out one of these the last few years. This is my 8th year, so that's why I chose the $8 banknote. The years before I used North Bridgewater, because Brockton before it was Brockton was North Bridgewater, and I did a national banknote previously from the National Bank of Brockton. Wow. So that's the history on this, and everybody is going to get one of these with the information on this for the Coin Week. Now, these slabs that I give out to everybody, you go on eBay, these are called sample slabs. Some of the ones that I've given out, they're selling for $50.
Really?
Yes.
Wow.
So they've gone up in value. People collect what's called sample slabs.
All right.
Brockton, Mass.
Yep.
Brockton Public Library.
The date?
18th of April, 1 o'clock, 304 Main Street. Come in the side entrance. And if you have to ask, just ask where the Coin Week event. It's the biggest room they have. We have a great crowd of people that come. Arrive early, so we can, get into it before we start to get the children going. It's ages 7 and up, so
Is that what that's the age that?
Yeah, we prefer
they
that.
retain it and that they stay focused.
Yes, or you don't want any crying or running around because people are trying to focus on what's going on. Obviously, some people have children that are well behaved, but hope to see everybody April 18th at the Brockton Public Library for National Coin Week, the 92nd event. Building tomorrows, so that's the theme. And Kevin, it's always a pleasure to come on Crosstalk. It's beautiful. Thank you so much.
Anytime. We got to try to find a way to get you to more libraries to do this event. I know you and I have talked. I think the other thing I gotta ask you is, what if somebody has questions about coins? Are you somebody who will talk with somebody? Do you have a way for someone to get in touch with you?
Yeah, show up at the library, and I'll give you the contact information there, so we can sit down and make a date and a time. You can't just call me up on the phone and say, I have this date. That doesn't tell me anything.
Yeah, you got to
I got to look at it. Some people don't even realize it might be from Carson City or New Orleans or San Francisco. So it's very important for me to physically see this. I mean, unless you know what you're talking about, I could help answer the questions, but I prefer if people come to see me, and they can help you out.
Once again, I got to thank you, Richard
My
Hand.
pleasure.
Great job once again, and we'll definitely have to make sure we get over there to the Brockton Public Library, 304 Main Street, on the 18th of April, 1 p.m. Make sure you go in the White Ave entrance and look for the room. You got to find the entrance in the room. Folks, that's another episode of Crosstalk, and we thank you always for checking out Whitman Has Community Access. Until next time, have a great day.